to order.
The meeting of the Compliance and Amendments Committee for Tuesday, September 14th is now in order. Administrator, please call the roll.
Yes, Madam Chair. Member Washburn excused. Member Snyder absent. Member Nee present. Member Wolf
Here.
present. Member Johnson
Present.
present. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. In the absence of Chair Allison Washburn, I'm going to be acting chair for this evening's meeting. Administrator, please call item number 1.
Item number 1 is approval of March 9, 2010 meeting minutes.
Move to approve?
Second.
Roll call.
No.
Public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any public comment on item 1? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Roll call.
On the motion, Member Nee.
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Madam Chair, we have 3 ayes.
Administrator, please call item number 2.
Madam Chair, item number 2 needs to be continued to the next meeting.
Madam
Is there a
Chair?
motion?
Yeah, there are a couple of reasons. Number one, the minutes, you'll notice, are not included in the printed packet. Also, they were not attached electronically to the agenda posted on the website, at least not until late this afternoon. So the chair will recommend. I will recommend continuance without objection.
Without objection? The minutes for August 10th will be continued. Administrator, please read item number 3.
Yes, Madam Chair. Item number 3 is hearing on the status of the August 28, 2010 order of determination of Michael Wright against the Human Services Agency.
Is the complainant present?
Yes.
Welcome, Mr. Wright. You
Thank
have
you.
5 minutes? 5 minutes to state your case.
Okay. First of all, I want to open up by thanking the panel for their time and consideration. And I see the respondent has also failed to appear, further demonstrating the serious and willful misconduct and a total disregard for the people's interest who I'm advocating for, and also showing a total disregard for the panel as well. I also want to highlight this letter that was submitted by the Human Services Agency to further demonstrate how they're not dealing in good faith. I want to highlight the point that they motioned and submitted that there's a restraining order filed against me pertaining to employees Joyce Crum and Brianna Moore, when the truth of the matter is that the restraining order was denied, and the judge pointed out to them that Mr. Wright is not a danger to you, and if you feel scared of Mr. Wright, when you see Mr. Wright in City Hall in the hallways, walk on the other side of the hallway of Mr. Wright. And if you see Mr. Wright in the elevator, don't get in the elevator with Mr. Wright. Wait on the next elevator. I'm not going to stop Mr. Wright from coming to City Hall and advocate for himself and the homeless people and the people who have a combination of both mental and physical disabilities, which he's advocating for. I also want to point out to you that Brianna Moore and Joyce Crum spoke at the hearing saying that when I speak up, that their blood pressure goes up and they're scared of me, when the truth of the matter is they're retaliating against me because I'm pointing out how they are in violation of their own rules and regulations. I also pointed out to the judge how I spoke up for one client and filed a complaint in a small claims court and won and got the client $2,100 judgment and was paid by the shelter that's called Next Door, which is part of the Episcopal Community Church system. And as a result, the judge said, well, he's doing good for the public. I'm not going to grant this restraining order. In fact, he filed the order saying for them to stay 5 feet away from me. the actual person from the district attorney's office that served me the original complaint and also served me a copy of the court order asked me, I must have had a real good attorney that represented me at the hearing, because out of all his 11 years of serving both complaints of restraining orders and the court order of restraining orders, he's never seen a court order on a restraining order where the plaintiffs were asking the respondent to stay 500 yards away from City Hall and 500 yards away from the city employees, and then get a court order saying that the plaintiffs are to stay 5 feet away from me and not keep me out of City Hall. And he asked me who was the attorney. I said I represented myself as my own attorney. He said, boy, you really did a real good job. So for this lady, Pam Tebow, to make these statements to you saying that I got a restraining order against me, and the reason why Joyce Crum and Brianna Moore are not coming because their fear of safety, is an insult on my intelligence. In fact, I've been at least 3 shelter monitoring committee meetings within the same room as Joyce Crum and Brianna Moore since the restraining order was issued by the judge. And by the same response, they also tried to keep me out of 77 Otis Street, which is the location where this complaint that I have before you took place, where they denied me access. And the judge said they can't ban me from coming to those meetings as well. And the judge just looked at me and said, Mr. Wright, I want you to conduct yourself in the professional manner that you're doing here in this court, and please do not create any disturbance, and if you have any problems, come back to the court. So for them to submit this information here and then have it signed by Trent Royal, the executive director of the Human Services Agency, is another example of fraud and serious and willful misconduct. Sincerely. I'm done.
Thank you. Is there anybody present to submit facts and evidence in support of the complainant? Seeing no one,
Have a seat.
Thank you.
is respondent present? Respondent is not present. Is there anyone present to present facts and evidence in support of respondent? Seeing none, the matter's with the committee.
Mr. Wright? So obviously we received a letter from, and you probably have seen it.
Yes.
Okay. And this is just a repetition of what we heard at the, when this was heard the first time around. I'm just wondering, since they're standing by this statement that the courts granted a restraining order, do you have any facts or evidence other than your word to show that there was no finding or no order or
Yes,
anything
sir.
like that?
My strategy on that is on our next hearing, which is in the works, which I've learned through your clerk. We are going to meet again on the 28th of this month. At that time, I will show you the restraining order that was signed by the judge that's in charge of the civil court pertaining to restraining orders, to show how the information put before you miscategorized the truth or the accuracy.
Well, you mentioned that the court had not issued or awarded a TRO.
Right, they filed, even though the proposal, what they wanted,
But did the judge actually, declare that he was not going to issue a TRO?
right, that's correct.
And is there some documentation
Right,
that says that?
the actual court order,
Okay.
the finding itself,
Good.
explained
Okay.
that their proposal to keep me out of City Hall and stay 500 yards or feet away from City Hall, stay 500 feet away from Joyce Crum and Brianna Moore, and to stay 500 feet away from 77 Otis Street, which is the locations where the negotiations and hearings pertaining to the shelter system is held. He said, I'm not going to do that, Mr. Wright. like he said, has the right to exercise his constitutional right pertaining to the 14th Amendment in due process. So their motion was denied, and by the same response, he issued the fact that they have to stay, I believe, 5 feet away from me.
Okay, so is that all
That's
in
in
writing?
writing. That's in writing. And
Okay.
in our next hearing, I'll be able to bring that to you.
Okay, good.
And further demonstrate how I'm dealing in good faith and have every intention on reaching a legal agreement on this matter.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Wright, I have a question. Are
Sure.
these the two people that they mentioned? You had stated, I want to make sure that I got that right, that Joyce Crum and Brianna Moore have been in attendance at meetings with you?
That's correct.
Since this
Since the
restraining order was
since
allegedly...
Since the restraining order was handed down, I've attended on or about 3 meetings with the Shelter Monitoring Committee that takes place once a month.
Had anybody from the Human Services Agency or someone in, conducting the meeting asked you to leave based on a restraining order?
No, that's an example how they know they don't have a restraining order against me. In fact, the judge made it clear that if they feel that they're threatened, and particularly Joyce Crum, when it was her turn to speak at the hearing before the judge, she said her blood pressure goes up and she feels scared of me when I talk. And when it was time for me to rebuttal, I specifically said, if you think your blood pressure is high now, you haven't seen nothing yet. You wait till I get you in the federal building. You're deliberately retaliating against me because I'm proving how you're in violation of your own rules and regulations, and you in violation of people's due process rights. And the two of them are black. And I also used an example on how I deal with Bernice Casey, who's in charge of the Shelter Monitoring Committee investigations, who I've been working with for on or about 4 years, and I've drafted complaints advocating for people who are in the shelter systems and launching the complaints by documenting the violations that took place and forward them to Ms. Casey, and by the same response have the clients call Ms. Casey to verify that everything I documented is true and correct, because if the client doesn't call her and let her know that the documents that I submitted are true and that I have permission from the client to file the complaint on their behalf, she can't move on it. And I use that as an example to show how I have no problem getting along with females. Now, Bernice Casey is white. Joyce Crum and Brianna Moore are black. That's proof that you guys are lying and retaliating against me, because I'm proving how you're not standing up for the clients. If I had problems with females, how come I'm not having no problems with Ms. Casey, who's in charge of the Shelter Monitoring Committee? We have a professional understanding together. In fact, we were meeting so often during the week where she actually made a natural established appointment for me to meet once a week every Friday, because I was doing the legwork at all the shelters in the city, drafting complaints for numerous people who had their rights violated that were using the shelter services. So after that point, that was real compelling to the judge, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with proving that I'm not threatening them. I made no threats whatsoever.
I have one more question for you. Has anybody from Human Services Agency contacted you since the order of determination?
No, they haven't. In fact, there was one meeting that took place at 77 Otis Street, and I overheard Joyce Crum, Brianna Moore say that they don't even honor the restraining order. And I overheard her say that. I said, that's just another example on how reckless she is. She's got a court order from the judge saying that you can't keep me from these meetings, and you still try to bluff me. And she went to her superiors, and they know that they don't have no restraining order, and I was there at the very same meeting that they denied me access to, which caused me to file this complaint before your panel. And I sat there and conducted myself in a professional manner and spoke when it came time for public comment while they were present at the table on the other side of the table within the same room at 77 Otis Street. Sincerely.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. You may be seated.
Thank you.
The respondent is not present.
Concluding remarks. Concluding remarks. 3 minutes.
The respondent's not present, so there's nobody here to give a rebuttal or concluding remarks on behalf of the respondent. The complainant will now have 3 minutes for concluding remarks or rebuttal.
Thank you again. At this time, I would like to highlight the point that in your finding that you were referring the matter to the Ethics Committee, and I want to thank you for doing that, and by the same response, staying focused on the rules and regulations pertaining to the Sunshine Ordinance, so we wouldn't have any confusion on our hands like the previous complaints that I had the opportunity to listen to before I had a chance to be heard. Now, this lady, Miss Tebow, this latest incident is giving me grounds to file another additional complaint on the grounds that they frauded information. And I don't appreciate that. It's an insult on my intelligence and the task force intelligence. So not only do we have a situation on our hands where the Ethics Committee is going to hear it through the side door from your organization, but they're also going to hear it from the front door, because I'm going to file an additional complaint to come in at them at one time to let them know how serious I am about taking care of my legal business. And I appreciate the respect and courtesy and the patience that all of you have provided for me. Thank you ever so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And the matter's back with the committee.
Madam Chair,
Member Need?
I move that the committee refer this matter back to the full task force with a recommendation that the matter be referred to the Ethics Commission for enforcement. Couple of things. Number one, the order of...
I'll second that.
Thank you. First of all, the order of determination has not been complied with. The order of determination stipulated that the respondent was to send a knowledgeable representative to today's hearing and to show the committee a written policy specifying how the Human Services Agency will abide by Section 67.4A of the Sunshine Ordinance. There has been no compliance on either count. The chair will further, not the chair, no, I'm not the chair today. I will further note, in response to Mr. Rohrer's letter, the executive director of the Human Services Agency, he says the Human Services Agency will not send its employees to a meeting where their safety may be placed at risk. If they really feel for their fear for their safety, they have every right to request the presence of security personnel at our meetings. And so I don't find that to be a legitimate excuse for absence. Furthermore, Mr. Rohrer writes, the Human Services Agency Directors Group is not a passive meeting body, so the Sunshine laws do not apply. The full task force has already found, based on evidence presented, that the Human Services, that the Housing and Homeless Division Shelter and Resource Center Directors Group is a passive meeting body under Section 67.3C5 of the ordinance. So for Mr. Rohrer or anybody else to say, well, it's not a, you know, it's not a passive meeting body, that's not the respondent's decision to make. We arrived at our decision in full and good faith after hearing evidence and looking at evidence, and I think our decision, our finding was perfectly justified and perfectly valid. Ergo, my motion for referrals.
As I said, I
Okay.
second that.
I have a point of order question. When we inform the respondent that it's been referred, if the motion passes and it's referred to the full task force, do you notify them that they're required to appear?
Yes, Madam Chair. I will send them a reminder a week before the meeting.
Is it, in addition to the things that Member Nee had discussed, is it possible to request that they all, because the matter of a restraining order is in dispute, is it possible to request that if they indeed intend to not appear as with this letter, that they provide a copy of the restraining order?
It's your order. If you so wish, Madam Chair.
Yeah, we have every right to request that, certainly.
Yeah, I would absolutely say so, Madam Chair, because they are claiming that something exists, and that's why I had requested Mr. Wright to bring any documentation, or asked him if he had it here, but that he said that he would bring it to the subsequent meeting when this will be brought back to the task force. So if they bring something, then we'll see what Mr. Wright brings, and then we'll have a nice discussion after that, I'm sure, if they're not, the items are not cooperative with each other. I also want to say that, I really find it a little disjuncting to me that that any staff or any department head would say that they would allow a sunshine, as a respondent, a sunshine attendance to be done in writing. I really find that a little disjuncting for me. It's, if anybody's to know how it works, it's the department head, and they should know that when the respondent is specifically named, that those people must attend. By the same token, if those people have some fear, we won't stand for any disruption of our meetings under Robert's rules. We can call a meeting to come to a certain particular area of order. We can halt and ask for no disruptions and to cease and desist those disruptions. And we can adjourn the meeting if things get out of hand. And so that they could be dealt with outside of the venue of the meeting. I concur, as I did second the motion, and if there's nothing more to be said besides calling for public comment, I would move to a vote or call a vote.
Okay. Is there public comment on the motion?
You're
Chair will note that there is no public in the audience at this time. So seeing none, roll call on the motion.
On the motion, Member Nee.
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Wolf.
Aye.
Wolf, aye. Member Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Madam Chair, we have 3 ayes.
And Mr. Rustum, I would like to request that anytime they make a reference to this, when you send them the notice that it's been sent to the task force, I'd like to request that anytime they choose to make a reference to the restraining order, that because it is in dispute and they have not been available for us to ask questions, that they send a copy.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Administrator, if you would call item number 4.
Item 4 is the administrator's report. Like I said, at the complaint committee, we have only 1 complaint filed to date. So it looks like going to be a very light
Wow.
agenda.
That's fantastic.
That concludes my report.
Thank you for your time.
Is there public comment on the administrator's report? Seeing none.
Move to adjourn. Oh,
you have to call public comment?
announcements.
Do we have to call public comment, item 5?
Oh, that's true.
There's still no one in the audience to comment. So seeing none, public comment is closed. And item number 6.
Item 6 is announcements, questions, and future agenda items from committee members.
Seeing none,
Move to adjourn.
So move. Second.
meeting is adjourned.